Kyle Shanahan because I'm kind of excusing him and saying I think he got a little bit too much hate because I didn't see a huge problem with the run versus pass, at least in the first half, the way it was called. Now, how do you feel about Kyle Shanahan not over? Because what was it? They had some game a little while ago where they were down. Their first was it against? It was I forget which game it
You
was,
have
but
you have the stat backwards. He's 0-38, not 38-0.
there we go. There we
I'm
go.
looking
Nice.
at him like I was looking at him like thinking I looked at
He's
it and I'm
just
trying to like
super,
think
super
about.
good. Don't worry.
I was like, damn, we
He's super good. I was talking with Crocky after a game where because I ride the emotions. So the 49ers came out and they were really bad right away. And I was like, oh, I think it was the Eagles game. It was like the first quarter, I was like, what the heck? Like, this is terrible. Well, then they end up dominating the Eagles. And I was talking to Eric Crocker after, and he was like, oh, no, I knew the whole game that the 49ers were going to blow them out because the 49ers were playing the worst football that they could have played. And the Eagles were playing the best football they could have played, and they only like had like a field goal or something.
mm-hmm.
And so I kept that mindset. Crocky made me stupidly optimistic. So I kept that mindset. And coming out of the halftime,
You're like
I'm
we
like,
won.
Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions. There's no way it gets worse than that. He's never had a single game where he's thrown 3 interceptions all game, let alone in a half. They're gonna come out, they're gonna win. Like I was like confident. I was confident until Sam Darnold threw an interception. That's how long I kept faith for. I was like, it's within 2 scores. It's about to be within 1 score. Just kidding. Sam Darnold is the backup quarterback, and obviously he threw an interception.
See, but that wasn't
Great.
his fault. So the only time I think Kyle Shanahan should have ran the ball was all 30 plays in the red zone at the one. Every single play should have been a run play. Like
Okay.
it should be no. You have nothing to check to.
And that was the thing, right? Because the Ravens were bad against or they were good first against the pass, bad against the run, and really good in the red zone. So you would think in the red zone, run the ball.
Yeah. So for me, so I know a lot of people criticize Kyle for not running the ball in the first half. I didn't really care because we were moving the offense was moving the ball. It was just turnovers, and now when you're turning the ball over, you're not going to score points, and that's why the offense looks bad, right? And we'll get to the Kyle being 0-38 right now, but I thought the offense during that when they were down 14, you have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield and you run the ball at the one, you get stuffed, you doesn't get it, but you have Christian McCaffrey. Run the ball 3 more times. Shit, why are we throwing it? Why are we going play action in the red zone out of the gun? To me, I'm like, that's where I was like, come on, Kyle, like you know better than that. One, I get Sam Darnold as your backup, but Sam Darnold didn't play bad outside of that interception. But it's even then, you're throwing the ball from it was 4th and goal at the 10. You're trying too hard. You're down 14 anyways. You just got to put something in the end zone. Now, there was someone one-on-one in the end zone rather than throwing into triple coverage. But Sam Darnold wasn't the reason that interception happened. That interception happened because of Kyle Shanahan's play calls. If you run the ball 3 times in a row, you're scoring a touchdown. It's a one touchdown game. Your defense gets the ball, you have an opportunity to go and win it.
Why did Kyle Shanahan try to get Sam Darnold a touchdown there? Here.
I don't know. But if you look at what Grant said Kyle wanted some quarterback controversy. I don't agree with it. I know Grant when he saw that I was like, that's interesting. Like don't get me wrong, like I love Grant, but when I saw that I was like, that's interesting because if you had quarterback controversy this late in the season, let's say Sam Darnold led.
I understand the takeaway because it felt like Brock Purdy had his helmet on. Like Brock Purdy was like, I want to go back in the game, and Kyle Shanahan was like, you're gonna sit down. Like he had that paper over him, and I was like, I would not want to be on the other side of that paper with whatever Kyle is telling Brock Purdy right now. And then Kyle has openly called Sam Darnold the next Steve Young. So, and Brock Purdy is like, how did I get my job? I outplayed the guy. So yeah, you're right. That's in his. It's a funny thought. It's a funny thought for sure.
But being 0-38, because I know you asked me that right now. So Kyle being 0-38 when down by 8. I would ask because this stat is skewed. right? And the reason I'm going to say this, going into that fourth quarter, the Niners weren't down 8. They were down more than 8, right? How many times going into the fourth quarter has Kyle Shanahan been down by exactly 8 points? I don't know because I haven't looked at the stat, but I've seen there's a couple of stat guys that they keep mentioning this stat to talk about Kyle like in a negative aspect. But then when I've asked one of them how many times has he been down by exactly 8 points? Because you could be down, you could be 0-4 by down 8 points, or 1-4 or whatever, by down exactly 8 points, right? Or if 0-4 down by 8. But when you're down, how many teams are coming back when they're down 14 going into the fourth? How many teams are winning when they're down 10 going into the fourth? Not many. It's not happening in the NFL because teams, they understand, kill the clock, the momentum of the game, go get a field goal. That's all you need is
You
a
would
field
think that
goal.
it would happen like one time out of all 38 times.
But the thing is, though, is how many times are the Niners down by just 8 points going into the fourth? Most of the time, when the Niners are down going into the fourth, it's either by 10 plus or we're getting blown out. When he had his bad teams, most of them came from those bad teams. So, like us now, you don't see the Niners going into the fourth quarter down by points. Like this week, they were down, what was it, 21 going into the fourth? Or I believe 14 or 21 going into the fourth.
Yeah.
So it's like, what team's coming back for 21 in the fourth quarter? Like you don't see it. And when you do see that, it's like, oh shit, they just came back. So like for me, when I do see the stat, I don't take it as like, oh shit, Kyle can't come back and win. I've seen him do it when he's down in the third quarter. They'll be good like late third quarter, they're down 14. He scores a touchdown. We come back and end up winning the game because we're only down 7. Right? He was down 7 though. Like you know, things so like I
You're
don't
right.
really
Like
look.
it's like a specific number that they
Yeah,
people
so
have.
like it's like we could go and do this with most coaches, and just change the numbers. Like, okay, well, Sean McVay, I don't think he has a great record down by at least 8 in the fourth quarter. Like, so it's for me, I don't really look at it in too much into depth, like as a negative on Kyle, because in the NFL, if when you're down by at least 8 in the fourth quarter, you're most likely not coming back unless you have Patrick Mahomes, who has that stupid, ridiculous stat of being when he's down by double digits. Like he has some
Yeah,
crazy. Him and Andy Reid
yeah.
have this
It's like
stupid,
better
crazy
when he's
stat.
down. It doesn't make any sense. You're
Yeah,
like,
I'm like,
what?
dude, how's that possible? Or if you're Tom Brady, like I felt like Tom Brady came back from anything too. Like, so those are like, I don't really look at it in a bad perspective in terms of on Kyle, because most teams know when they're down, when they're up 8, at least 8. Hey, drive the ball, kill the clock, go get at least the field goal. You're not really looking for a touchdown. If you get a field goal, you're in a good situation.
Kurt Benkert, he was the fourth or the third string quarterback for the 49ers in 2021. He came out on Twitter during the game, but he actually said it like 2 years ago, and I sent the clip at the time to Grant. But he has openly talked about the 49ers not practicing 2-minute drill during practice. And during that last game, during the Ravens game, he tweeted out that the 49ers are not built to come from behind. Do you agree with that? Because I kind of think that a team with such explosive players, maybe like their problem is they don't practice it enough. But I feel like this team should be a team that could come from behind easily with how many like skill position players they have and abilities to kind of have that big play. I know a lot of times they prefer to run, but I feel like especially this season they have had way more explosives and like leaned on the passing game more, which in my opinion, if you're going to try to come from behind, that's what you're trying to lean on, right?
So I'm gonna ask this question: what's Kyle Shanahan's offense built on? His favorite thing to do, like when you start the game, when Kyle's offense, he loves to run the ball, right? So what allows him to do is allows him to get to the play action. So when he gets to the play action, that's why we're getting all those explosives, because you're sucking in the defense, all eyes are coming in, play action, you're drawing the linebackers in, you're creating space. That's why his offenses are damn explosive and they score points. So when you don't have the luxury of the play action being like set in stone. Like for example, if I'm down 21 points, I can't really go play action. I could do it, but a team's not going to fall for it, right? Like if I'm down 21, if you're up 21 and you're the linebacker, you're not really worried about the run game. And the reason is the most things we have to do is, as a linebacker, let them run the ball. You're going to kill the clock. It's their fault. They end up losing, right? Niners aren't built to go straight drop back. That's just not their style, because Kyle loves to go play action. And I think that's more so, if I was to talk to Kurt on why I think that they're not a come from behind team, because Kyle's a play action type of offense. When you're down big, you can't stick to the run. And that's why you see the Niners not being a
He's
come from
gotten
behind team.
criticism for his drop back passing game from in JT O'Sullivan's videos too. I've also heard that. If you're saying right.
He does, because he goes seven step drops. You don't really see that from teams in the NFL no more. That's like like the 90s, early 2000s kind of offense in terms of drop state 7-step drops, and that's kind of what JT O'Sullivan's criticized, not necessarily the straight drop back game. When he does the 3-step drops, he loves it. 5-step drops, he loves it. But it's when he does his 7-step drops, no play action or nothing to it, that's where JTO has criticized him for.
I have one more question. I have a couple more things, but really quick, just in the chat, I just want to say I really appreciate every content creator. I like all their ideas. I think that it makes the 49er space a lot more fun to have challenging opinions, and specifically with the content creator that is being mentioned in the comments. I think he's a really wonderful person, just on a personal level too. I know that people can get mad about people being critical, but whether it's Larry, whether it's Grant, whether it's David Lombardi, even we can all have jokes, but let's not say anything about like someone being like literally like a bad person. I just don't think that that's necessary. But I'm glad that you're watching here. And